John Mearsheimer, a renowned political scientist, someone who I've been studying since my master's, argues that Israel is in deep trouble.
The chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has applied for arrest warrants for Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu.
He goes on to argue in a recent talk with the Center of Independent Studies that there are 4 options for Israel, and none of them are very good.
And my basic argument is that Israel is the big loser. Israel is in really serious trouble today, and there's little hope of getting away from that moving forward.
The first option is a democratic Greater Israel, which includes Gaza and Palestine. It's a one-state solution for equal rights for everyone.
And there are basically 4 options. One is you have a democratic Greater Israel. That's not going to happen because it would no longer be a Jewish state.
But this is definitely not going to happen because there is roughly 7.2 million Arabs and 7.2 million Jews. And the demographics are not working in the Jews' favor because the Arabs are actually having a lot more children. This also doesn't align that Israel wants to be a Jewish state. So it's super unlikely that this is going to happen. So the second option is a 2-state solution.
Everybody loves to talk about a 2-state solution. That is not happening, certainly after what happened on October 7th, but even before then, and I'll talk more about this. Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli elite has no interest in a 2-state solution.
And this is the solution that everyone kind of clings on to, thinking it's the only good solution left. Mearsheimer argues quite cynically that this is really unlikely, especially since October 7th. But he even argues before October 7th this was really unlikely. He goes on to talk about how the elite in Israel just do not want a 2-state solution. So it is well known now that Netanyahu was actually allowing funds to reach Hamas, and he wanted to support Hamas, and he even publicly went out and said, if you don't want to support 2-state solution, then you should support Hamas. And the reason why is because there's a divide and conquer. You can have the PLO in the West Bank and Hamas, a terrorist organization according to the European Union, the US, and Israel. If you have a terrorist organization in Gaza, then of course there's no 2-state solution. That includes Gaza and a terrorist organization. So in fact, he has actively supported Hamas for this exact reason, which represents the fact that none of them want a 2-state solution. Furthermore, it looks really unlikely the public want a 2-state solution, especially since October 7th. So John Mearsheimer argues that 2-state solution is also off the table.
Basically, what you now have is an apartheid state.
The third option is apartheid, and this is the state of affairs currently. Israel is an apartheid state, according to most independent organizations.
We can go into this in detail in the Q&A if you want to do that, but if you look at Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and B'Tselem, which is the leading human rights group in Israel, all 3 of those organizations have produced lengthy reports that lay out why Israel is an apartheid state.
I can vouch for that. In my travels in Hebron and around the West Bank, I could walk down certain roads and my Arab friends could not. I could take certain buses and not be searched, and my Arab friends would be. There are different rights for Palestinians and settlers living in the West Bank. There are 2 laws. There's military law for the Palestinians and there's civil law for the Israeli settlers. But Mearsheimer argues that's option number 3, and that's the option they've been choosing over the decades. Option number 4 is ethnic cleansing, according to Mearsheimer.
The 4th option is ethnic cleansing. And ethnic cleansing means getting rid of the Palestinians, for the most part, who live in Gaza and who live in the West Bank, and creating a Greater Israel that is completely dominated by Israeli Jews and has very few, if any, Palestinians in its midst.
This means driving out the Palestinians. And Mearsheimer has been arguing that in Gaza, this is exactly what they've been doing by blowing up the infrastructure, the hospitals, the water, the roads, the buildings, the mosques. They've been making Gaza unlivable. Option number 4 of ethnically cleansing the Palestinians is actually genuinely on the cards in the minds of the elite. It's actually strategically quite a good option.
This morning, you've been accused of using starvation as a weapon of war.
Well, I think this is absurd. This is beyond outrageous.
Because you don't want a democratic Greater Israel, which includes 7.2 million Arabs and 7.2 million Jews, because it won't become a Jewish state. You don't want a 2-state solution because Palestine might become a state which does not like Israel and could put arms there, make its own deals and do its own international relations. Apartheid is not a good solution in the long run, but it's the only solution they have which has been working. So ethnic cleansing could move away from apartheid and to a democratic Greater Israel if they can drive out the majority of the Palestinians. and they've been calling for this for a long time. For example, National Security Minister Ben Gvir has been calling for voluntary immigration of Palestinians in Gaza.
את קידום פתרון של עידוד ההגירה של תושבי עזה אנחנו חייבים לקדם. זה פתרון נכון, צודק, מוסרי, הומני.
And insists resettling the Palestinians in Gaza should be high on the agenda for Israel. This is not just some random person, this is the National Security Minister of Israel.
Democratic Greater Israel. Number 2, two-state solution. Those two are off the table. Number 3, apartheid, which is basically what you have now. And number 4 is ethnic cleansing, where you get rid of the Palestinians.
Check out this mega video I made about Netanyahu and the war in Gaza. Highly edited. It took me a month to make.